Hey, what's up? Noyse Works here, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to add shadows to your object. So basically making everything blend in so you get something like this. So here's the before and then the after. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to delete this layer. First thing you want to do is add your adjustment layers. So go down here to the folder and add a new group. Name that adjustment. And then now what you want to do is go down here to your adjustments and add hue and saturation. Just close that. And then with that, on the blending mode, have it on soft light. So what this does is it gives the image more contrast. Right now it's kind of too much because all the shadows right here is it's too dark. So what you want to do is lower the opacity. Something like that. Just a little bit, because you can add another adjustment. So down here, click new layer, and on the left, on the color palette, type in 127, 127, 127, and then shortcut to fill it in is Alt Delete. Go to filter, noise, add noise, and then usually add about 10%. Click OK, and then change the blending mode to soft light. And then you zoom in at 100. You disable it, enable it. You can see you could add a little bit of noise to the overall image just to make it blend in a little bit more. Alright, next thing you want to add is a new layer. And then over here on your color palette, select a brown color. You want the exact color. There's a number 965930. Click OK. Click Alt Delete to fill it in. Go to the blending mode. Click soft light. So what this does is it makes the overall picture blend in a little bit better. And let's move this underneath the hue and saturation. And then let's increase the contrast. So select the hue and saturation layer and bring up the opacity a little bit until you get something that you like. That looks good. So disable it. So that's how it looks. So what I did here is I grouped everything. So that's the wall in the back, the shelf. If you open the shelf, the items. I added in all the items separately. So if you open that, you can see I cropped everything out and added it in. And next is the desk, the main subject, and the objects on the table. Alright, so let's work on the top layers first, which is the table. And you can see I added the drink and the cigar cutter. Alright, let's add the shadow on the drink. And you can see there's only one layer. Alright, what you want to do now is hold Command for Mac, Control for PC, and then click on the layer. What that does is it select just around the object, and then create a new layer, and what you want to do is fill it with black. So go over here, make sure the color palette is selected on black, click OK, and then shortcut for that is Alt Delete. Now it fills up the whole space. To deselect is Command D or Control D for PC. Then go to your erase tool. Shortcut for that is E. And then you want to shrink it a little bit. And then make sure the hardness is all the way down. Now what you want to do is just go in. Oh, the other thing is keep in mind is where your light source is coming from. So in this, the light's coming from here, from the top right hand corner and down to the subject and everything else. So what you want to do is erase, so the shadow stays on the opposite side of where the light's coming from. And you want to change the opacity, so bring it up until you get some that looks good. Alright, that should be good. Before, after. And then do the same thing on the layer of the drink. Command, hold Command and click on it. It will select it again. Create a new layer and bring that layer beneath the drink. Then hit Alt Delete and Command D to deselect. You won't see it because the drink's on top of it. That's the layer filled in with black. And then let's enable this one again. So with that, what you want to do is click Command T or Control T, and this is, you're gonna transform it. So you want to bring from the top down. So bring it down to probably a third of the drink. Click Enter, and then go back to your selection tool and just move it a little bit to the left. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just blur it. Click OK. I'm gonna just move a little bit so it has a little bit of shadow right here, so you can see the shadow of the cigar and the drink. So if you disable the bottom shadow and the top shadow, you can see the before and you see the after. Alright, so I'm gonna do the same thing with the cigar cutter. What you can do, click Command or Control for PC, select it, create a new layer, Alt Delete, fill it in with the black, Command D, Control D to deselect. Alright, I'm gonna name it so it'd be easier. Top shadow. Then instead of redoing everything, click Command J or Control J to duplicate it. Name that bottom shadow. In the bottom shadow, you bring it down beneath the object. So that's the object. Let's see, that's the object. Let's name that object. So bottom shadow, object, top shadow. So it's simple. Top shadow, you erase. Click E, erase. Remember the light source is coming from here. And then lower the opacity just a little bit. And then bottom shadow, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Click OK. And then with that, with the selection tool, you can move it a little bit to the left. So before, after, before, after. So that's done. And let's go to the shelf and basically repeat the same step repeat the same step that you did with the drink and the cigar cutter to all the objects on here. The first thing you want to do is mask the object so it's within the shelf, because you can see right here the vinyl is kind of sticking out. So let's find that one. So that's that one. And what you want to do is zoom in. With that group selected, use your lasso tool and basically just select where you're going to mask it. And then once that's selected, click the mask down here. So it's going to keep the vinyl within the shelf. So just disable that, enable it. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna speed up the video and just mask out everything that needs to be masked out. Alright, so once you mask every single object according to the shelf, what you want to do is add the shadows. So basically the same way that we did it with the drink and the cigar cutter is the same process. So here's the vase. Same thing. Command, click on it, it will select it. New layer, Alt delete, Command D to deselect. Then name that top shadow. Command J, duplicate that so you ain't gotta do it twice. Move it down below the vase. Name that bottom shadow. And then with the top shadow selected, click E for erase. And then just erase it. Lower the opacity so you get something that looks good. And then the bottom shadow, filter Gaussian Blur. Instead of going to filter, blur, and doing it again, the shortcut to repeat that is Command F or Control F, and you see it blurred it out. Or here, let me undo it to show you. So I'm gonna move the bottom shadow. So that's without the Gaussian blur. So if you click Command F or Control F, it'll blur it. Alright, let's move it back. Alright. So before, after. And then same thing with the vinyl. Command, select it, it will select it. New layer. Alt delete, fill it in with the black. Command D to select. Command J to duplicate. Move it down. I'm gonna name it top shadow. Bottom shadow. With the top selected, same thing, erase. Lower the opacity. Bottom shadow, Command F to create the blur. And just move it. And right here is kind of, the shadow is too much. You want to blur it some more. So same thing, Command F, Command F, Command F, Command F, and keep on doing it till it blurs it. So before, after. I'm gonna lower that just a little bit. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna speed up the video and do all the shadows for everything. Alright, another thing I want to point out too is since the light's coming from this way, it's gonna cast a shadow on these edges because the shelf is right here, and then it's gonna cast a shadow on the vinyl right here, on the books, same thing right here a little bit, and then right here too, and all this. So to do that is, let's see, I'm gonna delete the top shadow layer, Command D, select it, new layer, Alt delete to fill it in, and instead of just erasing it and just keeping the shadow right here, you're gonna erase just the top a little bit. So there's still shadow on the left, the bottom, or actually the right, bottom, left. The same thing, lower the opacity a little bit, and then I'm gonna delete the bottom shadow, and then same thing, Command to select it, new layer, Alt delete, Command D to deselect, move that to the bottom. So that's gonna be the bottom shadow, and then filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then shortcut for that is Command F or Control F, click OK. And then with the selection tool, when you move it to the left, you also want the shadow inside on the right. So to do that is just click Command T or Control T, and just bring it more towards the right, because what's happening is the shelf right here is blocking the light from coming in, so all that's gonna be all dark. So click Enter, and then like before, since the shadow's kind of harsh, you want it more blurred, so keep hitting Command F or Control F for the PC until it's blurred pretty good. Alright, so that's good. So before, after. Alright, I'm gonna speed up the video and add the shadows to everything else. Alright, so now we added all the shadows to the object. Now what I like to do is add some more shadows to the shelf. Like the shelf on the right here is supposed to be shadows right here, since this block of wood is supposed to be blocking the light coming, and right there is supposed to be dark. And the way to do that is the same way we add shadows to the object. So you go down to the shelf, click a new layer, go to your lasso tool, select that area, same thing, fill it in with black, Alt delete, Command D to deselect, erase tool. Since the shadow's gonna be up here, you just erase from the bottom, and then you just lower it a little bit. And the good thing about this is, since if you want to add it to other part of the shelf, since this is already done, click Command J, it duplicated, and then now you can just move it around. So I can move it over here, and I can even move it over here. So just move it to the part that you think that needs it. Alright. And also, in the original design I did, is I made the middle shelf pop out from the right and the left one. You can see right here, it kind of blended in too much, and I want to make it look like it's kind of leaning over. And the way to do that is create a new layer, go to the right shelf, and the same way we did the shadows is with that, hold Command or Control for PC and select that. It will select the shape of the right shelf. And then when you go to the new layer right here, same thing, fill it in with black. Alt Delete, Command D to deselect, and then E for erase, and then just erase it. So basically you want to erase everything on the right. You don't need all the black. What you want to do is just keep a little bit right here. So it looks like the middle shelf is kind of coming out a little bit further than the shelf on the right and the left. And you could always lower the opacity to give it that look of, if you want to make it pop out all the way or just a little bit. And then same thing with the left. So instead of repeating the step, since this shelf is the same as this one, just reverse, you could just duplicate the shadow on the right, and then Command T to transform it. Right click, flip it horizontal, click enter, and go to the selection tool. And what this does is it flips the shadow so it's on the right side. So if you move it, you can see it moves it to the left. Before, after. So now just give it that kind of, and gives it that look of the middle shelf popping out. And also the other thing I did was, since I added this, I don't know what this is, but I just added that in, and you can see there's still a bar right here, or the wood, and that's not supposed to be there because you can't place this big old round thing in there with the shelf in there. So to erase that, you go down to the layer, the left shelf, with that selected, go to your lasso tool, and basically what you want to do is sample the top right here. Well, actually I should say select the top, and if you click Command J or Control J, it will duplicate that, and then go to the selection tool. If you hold Shift and bring it down, it'll bring it down, and it still has the shadows right here. So the easiest way to get rid of that is with the eraser tool. Click E, and then make sure the hardness is all the way down, and then you just erase that shadow until it's gone. You kind of see the shelf is coming back, but to fix that is just click Command J or Control J to duplicate it, and it will add a second one, so you won't be able to see the shelf right there. So that's pretty much it. That's how I add shadows to objects so it blends in with the overall design. And then one thing, or the last thing I like to do, is add a little brim light on every single subject. So the way to do that is kind of the same way you do with the shadows, but instead of filling it in with black, you fill it in with white. So let's say the middle shelf right here, with that selected, Command select it, it will select the whole thing, create a new layer on top of it, and instead of filling it with black, fill it with white. Click OK. Shortcut Alt Delete, it will fill it. And if you go to the select modify, contract. So usually I do 1 pixel or 2 pixel. So let's try 1 pixel. Click OK and click delete. You can't see it right now, but if you click Command D to deselect it, you kind of see the white is around it, but you can't see it on top because I got the mask on the shelf. So let's move the rim light on top of that layer, so you can see, let's name that rim light. So you can see the rim light, I should say. So now it doesn't really look like it blends in, but to fix that is on the blending mode, click it and set it to overlay. So if you do before, after, you just make it pop out just a little bit more. So if you want to make it pop out a little bit more, just duplicate the rim light effect, add another one on top of it. So if you do it for every object, say the right shelf, go up here, new layer, Alt delete, fill it in, select, modify, contract. Let's try 2 pixels, see how that looks. And then delete it, Command D to select it, and then change the blending mode to overlay. Alright, that looks a little bit better. So before, after, and then same thing, select the left shelf, go up here, new layer, Alt delete, fill it in with white, select, modify, contract, 2 pixel, okay, delete, Command D, deselect, blending mode, overlay. So you can see that's before without the rim light effect, and then after. So same thing I did with the shelf with the rim light effect, you could do with all the vinyls, the vase, and the books and everything. So it's pretty much up to you how much time you want to spend on everything and make everything look as good as possible. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you find this helpful, and if you have any question, any comments, please leave it below the video. And if you want to see some more tutorials, please check out my website, noiseworks.com, and also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.